But it's interesting, all these like Silicon Valley business people delve so much into parts of philosophy. Like, yeah, so many of them, like Steve Jobs, to peak their creativity, will use like psychedelics or philosophy or stuff like meditation. But they're still all about the achievement. Like, would you say it seems like it's working for them? Anyway, hey everyone, welcome back.
It's us,
It is indeed us.
which may or may not be surprising to you
Yeah.
if you've just clicked on the podcast to listen to.
And at least one of us is wearing a hat and or a watch.
There you go, keeping it consistent with the logo, with the branding.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the best way to spend your time ever, probably, it is how to live a good life. First of all, what it means, and then ways that people seem to go about it, and if it works or not. Obviously, we don't know, but this is purely conjecture. As far as I know, this is my first time around.
Yeah, maybe next time you'll have a better.
Hey, as far as like, because it's completely subjective, it could be that you are having literally the best life anybody's ever had in terms of enjoyment. Who knows?
Which is kind of the point in a lot of ways. You want the best subjective life that you can live, because I don't know if there is an objective standard that would work for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to live your own life, not anybody else's.
But so, yeah, first of all, what do you think of when you hear like, just like, oh, a good life? Like, what does that term mean to you? Or like, what do you sort of strive for?
So obviously, as anyone who's listened to the episode about fixed mindset knows, my knee-jerk reaction will be making bank, running the world,
Oh,
that kind of shit.
okay, Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, pretty much. That's more or less the gist. But I think a better way to look at it would probably be a lot of the categories in PERMA, which are the elements of well-being or how to live a good life generally. The ones to really focus on might be like engagement and relationships. If you can have those, then I think a lot of other stuff will go right for you.
Let's go over what PERMA is again.
So PERMA is 5 things: positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And these are all 5 things that people kind of pursue for their own sake and kind of contribute to overall well-being.
Oh yeah, and yeah, you said engagement and relationships are
Yeah.
what you think are the most important, or not most important, I guess. But
I feel like this is just a quick side tangent. I just thought of this, and I think it's quite genius. I feel like
okay,
accomplishment is kind of the Slytherin of the whole bunch of them.
okay,
Quite literally, actually, because that's the defining trait of Slytherin is
yeah,
ambition.
the thing is the ambition, yeah,
Yeah.
which is like, well, ambition is like you want to accomplish great things.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. That one seems like it's a little bit dangerous, or can be like a dual-edged sword, because the flip side of ambition is being completely like full of yourself, which you don't want.
Or like only like concerned about yourself.
It can manifest in a lot of ways, but it really just fills your ego, which is not good and does not help you.
And I guess there isn't anything like that with the other ones. Like purpose, you won't really have. It's not like I have too much of a purpose in life, unless it's a bad purpose, I guess. But then that's like, obviously that goes for everything. And then engagement, you want to be as engaged as possible. You want to have the best relationships possible. And then what's that again?
Meaning. You mixed up the first two. The first one's positive emotions.
Positive emotions, obviously, unless you have like some sort of a mental illness, it's difficult to have too many positive emotions. And then for meaning, yeah, it's, you're not like, my life is too meaningful. I want it to be less meaningful.
Yeah, I think it's good to have all of them in your life, but what I was getting at or trying to say when I singled out 2 of them at first was that I've been thinking a lot about which of them you can actually pursue in and of themselves in a meaningful way. And I don't know if it's good to pursue positive emotions, at least a lot, just in and of themselves, because that can easily be done with like chemistry. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the best
I
solution.
mean, yeah, I guess if you were seeking only positive emotions, that's sort of what drugs are.
Yeah, you're just
So,
getting that dopamine hit. Like,
yeah. So, obvious problems with that one.
yeah. And it's hard to pursue meaning in and of itself. Like,
Yeah.
you need to find meaning in things.
Yeah, it's not just like you'll just like start a job and then just be like, whoa, like, wow, okay, this. Yeah, I found it. This is it. Or
That's
like
actually more
something.
or less what I'm saying, I think.
Really?
It probably isn't that unintentional.
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, you won't just wake up one day and just like get an email. It's like, have you ever tried this? And you're like, that's it. I found it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't, or there isn't really anything inherently that it's like this. If I pursue this, man, I'm gonna feel so damn meaningful.
Mm. Like you have to, yeah. I think what you're saying is like you have to control it yourself. Like it's like you choose what you put meaning in.
Yeah, exactly. It's through doing other things or helping other people that you can find meaning. Actually, yeah, I think it feels more like a subcategory to relationships. It's not actually in perma because I think they can be measured independently and people do chase them independently. But I think if you really want to find actual meaning, it's more so through some combination of relationships and engagement.
And I guess yeah, those two are the ones where it's like it's very easy to seek them in and of itself. And with all of them, if you sort of look for them, it's not like you'll be like, oh, I've got tons of these two, but the other three are lacking. Like it's likely if you improve some, the rest will at least not get worse and probably follow. So, like, if you get super engaged in life and have defined meaning, then you'll probably also have more positive emotions, which will probably reflect well, like in your relationships, and then you'll probably achieve good things and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I figured those ones are more concrete. The kind of analogy or not coincidence, something that's similar that I heard recently was in a video by CGP Grey where he was talking about, I think, Spaceship U. It was just how to continue functioning when you're isolated.
Okay.
And he talked about how there are two parts to your health, there's your mental health and your physical health,
Yeah.
and both are extremely important to keep you functioning and, well, just functioning at a good level. But it's very hard to directly deal with the mental health. It can be done with therapy and whatnot, but especially by yourself, it's extremely difficult to do. So what you probably want to do is, how he described it was priming with the physical health in order to bump up the mental health. So it'd be the same idea with the perma categories. At least in my mind, what I've been thinking lately is that if you can take the more concrete steps and get a lot of engagement, get a lot of good relationships, you're likely going to find the others on the way.
And maybe some achievements just sprinkled in
I
there.
think that falls under it will come along the way. If you're doing
Ah,
really
okay.
engaging shit, if you've got a lot of like friends and stuff or
Oh,
good
yeah.
people around you, you'll
And
get
good,
positive
not just a
emotions.
lot, but like good relationships too.
Yeah, exactly. Really quality ones.
Uh-huh.
So you'll find positive emotions and meaning in life and accomplishment along the way.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think so. Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
So that's what I've been thinking about.
Also, side note, Slytherin being the achievement seeking house, why is everyone a dick? That those aren't hand in hand, you know? Like why aren't more evil people in Ravenclaw? Like all they care about is knowledge.
I don't know, I think it's that inherently with ambition or having like too much of it is you get this ego and you need to compete with other people and essentially like tear people down in order to get better. Like we were talking about people
Mm.
who would rather make less money but work with people who are poorer than them.
Oh
In one
yeah.
of our well-being episodes, that's like Slytherin to a T, right? Like they want to be the best of all
Ah,
the
yeah.
people around them.
But not necessarily because they're doing really well, just because they're doing better.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. I still think Ravenclaw should have some more bad people.
I don't know what your issue is with Ravenclaw.
Yeah, Ravenclaw overrated.
Nah, ridiculous. It's the best one.
Uh,
Well, okay, arguably Hufflepuff, but like,
Hufflepuff is pretty based. But anyway, back on the main sort of question, you see a good life can be built through seeking engagement and having quality relationships.
I think so. Yeah. Those are probably the most fundamental building blocks. Like there are some other ideas I have that are a little bit more concrete or actionable in a lot of ways, but I think fundamentally those are probably what you need to live a good life, to have a good well-being.
It's a very social collectivist point of view. Because yeah, a lot of people are around seem to base it in definitely more of like a single person point of view. Like a good life would be like achieving this status. Like it's definitely not only selfish things. Somebody could be like, I'm passionate about medicine, so if I invent this medicine that'll help so many people, like that's just like my purpose in life. And then if I've done my purpose, that's a good life. So I guess yeah, I guess a lot of people put it around meaning and achievement, but instead of relationships.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Like I definitely do as well. Like the importance of relationships is something that I know intellectually, but I'm still trying to actually embody into my life and
Yeah.
what I want to do.
But I guess as you've been working towards that, then you're like, hey, this is nice.
Spending time with people is always a good time. Well, not always, but
Sometimes.
on the whole, it's
Yeah.
good. If it isn't, I think that you should find different people to hang out with. It's a pro tip. What would you say is a good life, or how would you define that?
I would say yeah, sort of going through perma. Positive emotions, I would say I've always thought about there's sort of a balance I see that there's like your like expectations or like achievements you want to meet,
Hmm.
and on the one hand, and then on the other hand, there's the actual like situation you're in. So like with the
Mm.
actual achievements you do
Hmm.
in like your environment and stuff.
Yeah.
And the way I see it, like you're sort of happy when they're at the same level,
Hmm.
but there seems to also be a minimum threshold. I feel like, or maybe it would just be too hard to set goals that would be like absolutely nothing. Like I just want to, I don't know, like live in my parents' basement forever and do literally nothing.
Is it even possible to have your expectations or what you want to do be lower than what you have done?
Well, that's just when you exceed what you wanted to do, I guess.
No, I mean the opposite. Or no, wait, yes, no, exactly what you said.
Yeah. So if you're like, my goal is to achieve the rank of captain, and then you're surprisingly made a general, you'd be like, oh.
Nice.
But then I guess your expectations would also eventually raise with that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Are you able to keep back hedonic
Mhm.
adaptation so that you don't get used to it? And like every day, you're just absolutely blown away by how incredible your life is.
Yeah, that would also be part of engagement, I guess. But yeah, it seems so. I was thinking like, you know, being engaged in life,
Hmm.
like it seems to be a skill because everybody has different achievements they want. And it seems like some people like they always want more and more and more,
Hmm.
like to get and achieve more and more and more. The happiest people are people who are sort of do some reasonable things and then are happy with where they're at. So it seems like they are either just lucky, but it seems more like they are just able to just have sort of cultivated the skill of accepting things, accepting their
Hmm.
situation and where they're at. So I've always played around with the idea of like, would it be a good life if you like did absolutely nothing and actually had a pretty shit life like objectively, but
Hmm.
then just accepted it so hard that you were like, I'm fine with this. Because it's all built on your own perception of life. Would that be as good a life as like somebody who did a lot of things and then accepted it?
I don't know. That's a good question because I would say that striving to do better or to be better is probably, I might say, an inherent part of a good life or something that's needed. Specifically, like you were talking about, of having your expectations and reality kind of match. I think you don't want them to be too far apart because that's just depressing. But
Yeah.
you want them to be at a level that is just far enough that you can get some good engagement going, because that's one of the requirements for flow is that you need a certain level of difficulty and challenge.
Ah, okay.
to like keep yourself engaged in the moment and what you're doing and fired up.
So you're saying like if they're actually just matched, then you would sort of be like you'd be purposeless and therefore wouldn't really be happy.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically more so like the apathy zone on the flow graph. That's kind of what's happening when you're watching like Netflix or YouTube or something. It's very low skill, but it can be very
Yes.
low enjoyment sometimes.
And I guess that definition or that question as well was very like singular. It could be also put into the definition of a good life is like how much you help people and how much you help the world around you. So then like if you accept your situation and have a certain level of challenge, which you said, but then also help the world around you like the maximum amount, then I guess that would be the best life.
Yeah, I would completely agree. There's no right answer, but you can't go wrong with helping other people. That is like a guiding star that you can always follow.
I feel like a lot of this goes definitely into like philosophy.
Very much so. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about a lot right now.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about hedonism because the founder of it, everyone thinks he was this like crazy party. He was like a partier, like a glutton. Like
Yeah.
he drank all the time. He like participated in activities,
Hmm.
um,
Nice.
and he wasn't actually. He lived a pretty bare bones existence, and he just believed that sort of I guess because this is going into Epicurus. Sorry, that's the guy. He's
Okay.
an ethical hedonist, and yeah, everyone thinks that he was a hedonist. Like yeah, he like partied, drank, like
Hmm.
all that crazy stuff. But what that belief system actually boils down to is that the most like a good action is
Hmm.
something that like it is based on sort of positive emotions or positive effects, but a good action is something that increases the net enjoyment present in the world or
Hmm.
decreases net unenjoyment, like net suffering, and vice versa for what's a bad action, increases suffering, decreases enjoyment. And it's not just you. Yeah, the reason everyone thinks that is because modern hedonism is just sort of based on like a one person scale, like a personal scale. It's like, I think this is a good action if it makes me happy. I think the bad action if it makes me unhappy. But
Oh,
his was
okay.
more holistic. It was for the whole world. And so I guess you could say it would be the most morally good life if you just increased the enjoyment of everyone and like everything on earth and or decreased the suffering to a maximum amount.
Yeah, that is definitely good. And it falls in line with the Alderian psychology that I was reading about a little
Hmm.
while back, which I can't fully wrap my head around this concept because it's a little bit trippy. Yeah, at one
This
point they get into community feeling.
That sounds a little sus. Is that like the community watch? Is that like one of their duties?
No, it is not. It's essentially feeling as if you are part of the community, but
Yeah.
the community is everything.
Hmm.
And I think this will probably turn a lot of people off of the Eldarian psychology as a whole because it's a little bit out there, but it's like everyone and everything across time and space.
Okay, I totally see what just like feeling connected to the world or like the universe
Yeah.
and sort of feeling the closeness to it and like the interactivity and like that you can make a difference to it in the way that you would with just like a small community that you would belong to. Like I
Yeah.
guess having the tangibility of all that stuff,
Mm.
like having that attitude towards like everything.
And like feeling like you're contributing to it in some way.
I need to read that stuff because from what you've said, it sounds like pretty great.
It is. Yeah. I think you would enjoy.
I guess to have the best life objectively in this what was it called again? This philosophy?
Alderian psychology.
Oh, psychology. Never mind. An Alderian psychology
Psychology. Yeah.
would be to that would be based pretty much solely on engagement with the universe. Or
Um,
I guess
I don't know if it's engagement, but let's talk more about relationships maybe.
because is it based on actually having a relationship with the world and the people in it, or just feeling your ability to connect?
Um,
These are the real questions.
your ability to connect, or your run that by me again, Chief.
So is the objective in Alderian psychology to like acknowledge and accept that you're part of the greater universe and you like have a place in it and you're contributing, or is it actually to have the biggest interaction with everything, like have the most relationships, like have the biggest impact on the world that you can?
That's a good question. Probably the former, because the second one sounds super like ambitious and achievement-y. That would
Hmm.
be my guess, but I don't exactly remember the minutia of it like that.
Because yeah, that sounds a bit less like relationships. Like it'd be acknowledging their importance, but it seems like it would just be more of like an attitude shift or a perspective shift than anything.
Well, like I think it kind of starts with that, but then it also boils down to your interpersonal relationships, and that's the more like concrete notion of it is how you interact with or help with the people around you and the people you can interact with, and it sometimes somehow ladders up to the universe.
I feel like this got super Joe Rogan-y, where one of
It
us is just
does.
gonna be like, "You ever done DMT?"
That might help right now.
Yeah. Connect with the universe, with everything that ever was and ever will be.
And apparently that is the secret to connecting to the universe.
DMT.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I that's something that Steve Jobs said a lot as well. That no one who hadn't like taken acid or whatever could truly understand him.
Holy wow, that's a pretty cringy thing to say.
That it is, yeah.
I'm just like on another level. You wouldn't even get it. If you're just it's stuck in this plane of existence, you wouldn't even get it.
Which I mean sounds about right for someone who spent like a year or something homeless in India trying to find people to teach him about like philosophy and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I didn't know he was homeless.
Well, he was dirt poor the whole time, so
Huh.
I don't know. He probably did have or find beds to sleep in
Yeah.
places, but he had basically nothing to his name.
Did he speak the language?
Maybe I don't remember. He had to like sell off his last pieces of clothes. I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But it's interesting all these like Silicon Valley business people delve so much into parts of philosophy, like yeah, somebody than like Steve Jobs, like or
Mhm.
like to peak their creativity will use like psychedelics or philosophy or
Mhm.
stuff like meditation, but they're still all about the achievement. Like, would you say it seems like it's working for them? Because it seems a little funny, like all these people who are like if they're following like a lot of like Buddhism and stuff, Taoism and stuff, then it would be like part of it would definitely be separating yourself from your material possessions and like realizing that's not really what matters. But clearly, it must matter a bit if they're doing so much to like amass so much of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't say exactly if it's working or not. There's also probably a selection bias a little bit in that we'll only hear about people who it's not working for. The people who are wildly rich and successful and are also well adjusted, I don't hear about them very much.
Yeah.
I assume that's just because they're keeping to themselves like a normal person would.
Yeah, it keeps to themselves, and then yeah, there isn't much news. It's just like, well, this dude's pretty great.
But I would say that these types of people are probably the ones that need a lot of these kinds of lessons the most
Hmm.
because though they are intentionally like seeking out success and like striving for it, it does still do shit to your mind from what I've heard of and can like really mess with you. So in order to stay
Like
like
extreme success, you mean?
yeah, exactly. So in order to stay even like moderately grounded to the real world, they probably need some of this stuff in their lives, like the philosophy
Hmm.
and the feeling like I don't know, normal to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's why I feel like getting rich and famous would be like sort of the opposite, actually, to a good life. Like having enough money to live
Hmm.
and not have to like grind every single day of your life to not die of starvation. It's nice to have a bit more money than that, but past like having all your physical and needs met, like all your basic needs met from like the amount of money you have, then being super rich and being famous and all that, yeah, would generally deteriorate your quality of life.
Quite possibly, yeah. There is probably a correlation between like more money, less happiness at a certain extent. Maybe actually,
More money, more problems. Biggie Smalls.
that's very true. Yeah,
He knew. He knew.
but I don't know because it is still appealing in that if you have more resources, you could help more people. You know,
Hmm.
you're able to do more things for more
Well,
people.
that's true, but
Assuming you're not the type of person who's just like, I grind every day, every hour, every minute, making every dollar. Like
yeah,
those
that'd be
people can off. But
yeah, yeah. They're just like, hey, are you like just not successful? Just like start a business, just start an online marketing company. I made $1,000 today. Here's how I did it. All those like mid-roll ads. Don't
yeah,
click away. But yeah, just when you said that, more money to help more people, it brought to mind Bill Gates.
yes, he is one of the people I think of as a good example.
Yeah, because he has more money than most of us can probably even comprehend.
Yep.
Like, like what would you actually do with $1 billion? You know,
Oh,
like
it should be way more than that. Yeah, isn't it?
that's money to like you could topple governments with that. Like,
Yeah, but he's doing great shit with it somehow with
yeah,
his
like so
foundation.
I never thought about that. I only thought of like the people who like just got famous and then just like so many issues after that, but and like got rich and then it like yeah did whatever, crashed their Lambo or stuff like that. But yeah, he seems mostly like he's just giving tons of money to people who need it while also being super rich and sort of just famous because he started a very successful company which made him rich.
I have heard people say that arguably he's helped more people with Microsoft than he did with the foundation. Jobs, sure, but like the impact that like Windows and Office has had on people's lives.
Yeah, I guess there's stuff like software throughout hospitals and like
Yeah, exactly.
air traffic and like ambulance communication, like stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, it's all the, businesses or whatnot that are supported by the
Hmm.
computers and by the software. So like the point there was that you don't just have to work and then use that as a platform to help people. You can have your work also be helping people.
Which probably is easier. Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it honestly probably is. That should probably be the goal.
So would you say so far Bill Gates is maybe peak ethical hedonist?
I would say 100% because he specifically targets issues where he knows he can have the largest impact per like dollar spent.
Oh, so he's doing it like a true ethical hedonist.
Yeah, exactly. He picks his battles based on the like total number of like years lost to the specific causes and how much impact he can have on them. So he like looks at the list of the worst shit going in the world. Yeah, and then just systematically
He's like,
solves them.
well, this one needs a lot of money and is a big issue.
Mhm.
So
If it's something that could be fixed using a lot of money and a lot of innovation, he'll be there. That's
yeah,
kind of the
wow, that's
gist.
really interesting. Yeah, because then that's most problems solved with the means that he has. So,
Like he's almost fixed polio.
wow. Where's polio still going on?
Mostly in like terrorist controlled regions in the Middle East, I think.
Huh.
Or like Africa or something like that. Yeah. But it's just like a couple of areas where people can't get in to vaccinate people because it's too dangerous.
Ah,
That's
okay.
about it. That's all.
That is okay. That's actually a great strategy.
Yeah, and it's fantastic too because I mean, when you're trying to fix diseases, getting to 0 cases left is actually a magic number because you don't have to maintain it. If there's no cases left, then there's nothing to spread and you don't really need the prevention anymore.
So then you can shift to other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And polio remains endemic in Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Pakistan. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, wow.
Wow. Yeah. In 1988, there were 350,000 cases, and in 2017, there were 22.
Jeez. Wow.
He's almost there.
Get him. Honestly, he probably is, but like, I feel like he's just getting revved up for COVID. He's like, once we get a vaccine, everyone.
Yeah.
But one question I have is, do you reckon? I don't know if you know. I don't know if anybody knows.
Mhm.
But was this something he always wanted to do, or did he just get insanely rich and then he's like, I guess I should help people.
So obviously I don't really know, but going off of the Netflix documentary on him, which is a solid watch, honestly, I quite enjoyed it. Inside Bill's Brain. It's like a
Nice.
three-parter on his life. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. I'd say it was probably always there, but I don't think he ever focused on it until later in life.
Uh,
Like he was super hyper competitive and into Microsoft, especially at the beginning. I have no idea if there was like an inflection point when he really made the switch, but I think that it was always kind of there because in the documentary they talked about his mom always really like drilled that into them, like you have to like help people.
yeah, it seems like a lot of people think it's either one or the other. I guess myself included a lot of the time.
Mm.
Like it's like I can either like go the commercial route and make loads of money,
Hmm.
or I can go the like um sort of pure ethical route and just like do something that I think will help the world. But I guess it is possible to do both, like very
Hmm.
simultaneously.
I think is probably the ideal choice if you're able to continue to funnel your success into your like philanthropy or helping other people. That would be good.
Very interesting. Okay, except making loads of money to help people is pretty difficult.
This is true. Yeah, that is. That's a tough one. That's what I was just thinking as well. This is a big assumption there.
That's very much a conclusion I was not expecting to reach. That part of living a good life actually is making loads of money, but then just using it in a good way. Or I guess just spreading your reach to help the most people possible. Maybe it's not with loads of money, maybe it's like a social movement or like a nonprofit, or just you write a book that changes loads of people's lives and then
Hmm.
they start becoming better people or something like that.
Yeah, just pick an issue kind of that you think you can have an impact on, and then try and figure out the way that you can have the most impact on it.
And then just keep doing that until suffering is eradicated.
There you go. That'll do it.
Life solved.
Just systematically save the world.
That's not that big a deal. Pretty easy. Are there any other angles we can think of, like any other philosophers besides the Gates? Definitely a philosopher.
Yeah, so something that I heard in a book that I've been reading called Ego is the Enemy, which is
Okay.
quite good. It's based on a lot of like Stoic philosophy.
Oh, so good.
But what it is don't talk about what you're planning on doing, actually do it.
Hmm.
And this is partly to keep your ego at check, which, as the name suggests, is what the book is kind of about.
And is the enemy.
It is that it is. Ego's a dick. But apparently what happens is if you talk about or you really obsess over or think about what you're planning to do or your future success a lot, your brain will actually confuse that with making progress towards that goal
Ah,
and you'll be less able to actually do it. And this
I
feeds back
see.
into a lot of what we were talking about before because now you've just got this like expectation that's at like 110% and your life is still at 10%.
Sort of like an analogy for that is like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna go get in shape, and then you go to the grocery store and buy like a ton of vegetables,
Hmm.
and then they're just sitting in your fridge, and you're like, holy cow, look at this progress I've made, but you haven't actually eaten any, and you haven't actually gotten in shape yet. Like essentially, you're still at step one, but it feels like you've done a lot.
Yeah, exactly like that. I think more literally what I'm talking about is if you're talking about the diet you're about to go on to people and
Yeah,
how like great it's going to be or how good it would be if you did that and how like fantastic you would look or how much
yeah.
progress you could make.
I guess that's something I've heard about and I try to do, but it's still definitely like you just get caught up in it sometimes. You just want to talk about the new thing that you've discovered. That you're like, whoa! I just want to tell everyone about this because how great it's going to be.
I'm kind of torn on it as well because there's also like you want to get feedback on ideas. So that's something that's a good part of it. But
I feel like that's different though.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If you're
Yeah.
intentionally just getting feedback, that's different than just like daydreaming or saying like, "Oh man, when this happens, I'm gonna be great."
That can, I mean, and that can slot in perfectly well with the other become a rich philanthropist
Very
model.
much so. Yeah, you shouldn't obsess over this like how successful you're going to be and how many people you're going to save once you become rich and successful because
Just do
it's
it.
going to stop you from doing it or slow you down. Yeah.
Hmm.
You need to actually do it.
And just start at step one, go as far as you can in your current situation.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then,
You have to like live iteratively. Just keep getting one step better.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay, so I think we've pretty well outlined
That's yeah, how to live a good life. We've just talked a lot about help other people. That's the main message.
help other people keep perma relatively good, but
Yeah.
that should maybe come from step one. Obviously, not all, because sure, there's those people like medical workers who have bad health because they spend all their time and they're all like stretched thin and stressed out. But as much as you can within reason.
Yeah, doctors and that kind of type of people are kind of a wacky profession because they have like what 24-hour shifts or whatever, but they know they're very conscious of the fact that that's bad for your health.
Yeah, it's so weird. I have a good friend. He studies health science,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's one of those people who is like, yeah, during the week I usually get like 4 hours of sleep a night, and he knows how bad it is. He, if
Mhm.
I get, it's just the difference between like knowing it's bad and being like, okay, I actually need to implement strategies to not do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just thinking about it. You actually have to do it.
So I guess yeah, all these things, and also just having basic health.
Ooh, that's a pro tip. Basic health.
So I hope this gave everyone listening sort of a way to channel their efforts to live a good life or a better life and help the most people possible.